Phone on.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Lion, thank you
Lion.
for having Lion.
I first met James Miner in the 90s when he was working at Atomic Records in Milwaukee. He's a real music fan, an awesome dude. And thanks for having us, James and Bobby.
Thank you. And we had a showcase at the Townsend on Tuesday. It was really great. We had all our artists. And what was funny about it, it all started because like 3 years ago, I wrote a song for this movie. And I promised the guy, I said, listen, he's like, if I need to play South by Southwest or any kind of events, will you perform the song? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. Thinking that the movie was never going to be released. And totally forgot about it. I totally forgot I wrote this song. I totally forgot I sang this song. And then literally 3 years later, he calls me up. He's like, the movie's premiering at South by, it got sold, and I want to take you up on your offer. And I was all, fuck. So I tell him about it, and then so we were like, oh shit, we're all going out there. Let's just, I gotta go, why don't we take the whole crew? So that's basically how the showcase started. We just all kind of got in, we're all in a house, and we're living.
It's a lot like the Monkees.
Yeah, we're living like the Monkees right now.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's been going great.
So we started a record label, a publishing company, and a management company in 2017. Are we crazy?
People thought we were.
Yeah, yeah.
And Kerry and I, basically, we both have, big backgrounds, and one of my things is being in a band, and also, having that experience of a back then they weren't really developing artists. I think we all can think about, the 70s and think how wonderful the 70s were because it was free and music was amazing, and maybe some people don't, but a lot of kids, to be quite honest, there's a lot of 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds that are buying Zeppelin records, Beatles, AC/DC, Rolling Stones, that are just now hearing these bands for the first time going, they're hearing a difference, And so Kerry and I were talking about how there's a lack of artist development, like a long time ago, we used to go in a rehearsal room and you used to, work out your songs, and you'd go play your songs and you would get instant feedback. You'd go play these shows and you would know what song worked, what song didn't. You'd start developing who you are, and then you play, you tour, you do all your stuff, you flyer, you do all this work, and then you get a record deal. Somebody noticed you, and that label, that A&R person, they were a fan, and they wanted to claim you, and they helped develop who you were, and they put you out there, and then by the third record, you're huge, right? We don't live in that world anymore. We get plugged, the kids are coming out of YouTube, I would say American Idol, but nobody's really coming out of those shows, Voice or any of those things. But they grab you, they put you in a studio right away with Linda Perry, Pharrell, and all these big people, and then everything that you were on YouTube, they completely change and modify you to sound like what's on the radio, which we all know those are 10 songs that basically all sound the same. So there's no development. So we're robbed of that experience of who we really are, because these are people that are very experienced, that they know more than I do. And that's the number one thing we all have to remember. They do not. I do not know more than you, the artist, does. Kerry does not know. No,
and I mean, a lot of the inspiration for putting together this company came from exactly that. What Linda was talking about, putting artists together with producers, going in for a day, having a writing session, not even getting to know the artist, expecting a hit the next day. And, I think I speak for Linda when I say this, and as I speak for myself, I got really exhausted being in the studio and producing a song, and then the band would just leave. I would never see them again. There was no connection. It became factory work. And so part of where I'm at in my life right now is life currency. And life currency for me is everything. It's money, it's happiness, it's art, and we are blessed enough to be in a position where we can throw in a few bucks, put our money where our mouth is, have artists that we truly believe in, come in, work with them, develop them, and look at a future that's beyond how many streams you have this week.
Yeah. It's like we're looking at numbers, as you know, but not the right numbers. And so Kerry and I, we really believe in supporting a community. There's a beautiful community of incredibly talented kids and adults and painters, actors and poets and writers and whatever you want to call it. But it's like, I think that what we're investing in right now is trying to help develop these artists and build a community. I'm a lifer. I'm going to be in this for the rest of my life. And so while I'm here, I want to be a part of something that I've helped create some kind of community that is supportive, nurturing to the creative. Because as a producer, the number one thing that you need to do is you need to know how to listen. And if we don't know how to listen, then how do we know how to create for that artist? How do we know, if we don't know their vision, then all I'm doing is putting my vision onto these artists. And that's where we get into trouble, is because I'm dark. I like, everything would be brooding and like low, and I'd be singing like this, and it's like, I can't put that on people, because that's who I am. So I have to be a good listener. And, so we've been listening, and people send us stuff all the time. We give automatic feedback, and it's sometimes a little more honest than people want. And, but that's the kind of honesty that we feel is important. And we nurture our artists. We help them understand their vision, because sometimes you don't know. You just pick up a guitar, or you start singing, or you just know you want to do something in the business. And some people think they want to be a songwriter, and really they want to be a producer. And some producers think they want to be a producer, but really they're an artist, or they're a manager, or they're a record executive. But the idea is to help create this foundation that is safe. And we're partners with our artists. Like, we develop a partnership. We're not the boss. Other labels, they are the boss. You basically work for them. So I've always brought up to, every time I had a meeting with a label, I'm like, how come the artists don't get a benefits? They're like, what? I'm like, well, they work for you. Like, why does the girl that's answering the phone get health benefits and vacation time and all this stuff? And they're like, what are you talking about? I go, the artist works for you, so why aren't you giving them these benefits? And they're just like totally thrown off by my thought process, because it is true. When you sign that deal today, you just work for that label, because you start ending up doing everything they're asking you to do.
For very little money.
For very little money.
And you give up
a lot.
Everything. So, that was a big part of our mission statement and our philosophy, is like, we don't want to own artists. We want to partner with them. We want to put together JVs. We want to, each one of our deal is a blank canvas and different for each artist, but it is absolutely a partnership. Or margins, or like, if you were to give our line item, which we have, on a computer, to a banker or to most people that run big major record labels, they would look at us like we were crazy. And we're not. Well, maybe we are crazy, but the thing that I love and what drives me is that the money will come back in coupons that's rewarded for doing the work that you're supposed to do to help artists. Because back in the day, when we bought the records that we loved, I'm an older person, 54, so I grew up in the 70s. The people that were running the labels were artists. They were musicians. They were producers. The people that were in A&R were musicians, absolutely loved, passionate about the artists that they signed. They weren't looking at, does it sound like the other band? Will this immediately get on radio? They were like, I am madly in love with you as an artist, and I want to use my power to work with you to get you to the next place. And we're going to go this journey together, and it's going to be fucking awesome.
And I think that's also really important, is that what we're saying right now, there's nothing new about what we're saying. It's very old school. But you have to think about new school avenues of distribution. And there's, you have to think outside the box too. And you have to, there's so many wonderful ways to partner up with different brands or people or friends or people who are creative that can think outside the box. And that's what we've been trying to do. And like, we have an artist named Dorothy, and she's on Rock Nation. And we manage her. And they wanted me to produce the record, but I said, I can't produce the record because I feel like the foundation isn't right. And we need to change everything about her. And they were like, well, just bring us back a rock star. And so, you know, first thing we did was change her band, because it wasn't, the band itself was not connecting. You have to have that chemistry. You know, you have to have the chemistry with your band. And so when that's not happening, it's hard to translate that sexy swagger that should happen in rock and roll. You know, rock and roll right now is on a grid. Rock and roll doesn't belong on a grid. It belongs on a pulse, a natural pulse. You know, it doesn't belong on a grid. Like, you can't play rock and roll on a grid. It doesn't work, because you have to have your ups, you have to have your downs, you have to have, it has to get faster, then it has to slow down, it has to have those dynamics. So I put her in the rehearsal room with this new band, and we wrote in the rehearsal room. And once we felt that we had a live show, then it was time to go into the studio. And then we went into the studio and we recorded the album live. And you feel it. It comes out Friday, by the way. Her name's Dorothy, and it's called 28 Days in the Valley. And it feels good. It's like this album that just moves, like you move with it, because you can feel the flow, you can feel the slowdown and the tempo change, and so that's the number one thing, is like really focusing on these things. And again, very old school. You know, Zeppelin was on a grid. You know, like, I'm sure if they were, it fell out of, you know, Bonham's ear, and he just was playing, and that's probably how things got turned around, and who knows? Like, those beautiful mistakes that happened, you know, those weren't thought out. Those were just beautiful mistakes that got left. And there was the warmth and the feeling of the music that we're missing. I think a lot of people feel that today, that we're missing that movement.
Yeah, it's production, it's marketing. There's
Yep.
And listen, there's a lot of indies that are doing amazing work out there. It's not, I mean, it's a very interesting time for music. It's a great time for music. I have a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old, and they go to a school in Sherman Oaks, and all of their friends have recently picked up guitars, started rocking out. You know, it's probably a reflection of what's happening in government. I mean, when we have craziness in government, a lot of times it's a great ammunition and fuel for badass art. So I think we're probably seeing some of that. I think there's a rebellion against everything sounding the same. You know, I've lived long enough to see different rebellions. The alt-rock movement was a rebellion against metal and hair bands, you know. Metal and hair bands were a rebellion against electronic 80s music, and before that it was, you know, we got to do something that's not so singer-songwriting. So a lot of times music will rebel against itself. Right now there's a combination of that happening, and there is an industry that's operating from fear, right?
Do's and don'ts.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, you know. So every artist on our label is completely different, very diverse, different disciplines. We just signed Natasha Bedingfield, who's a big pop star who's been around for years and had massive hits. Lion, Jinx, some of these artists are just starting out. We're all about bringing the voice of the artist to the masses in a way that's appropriate and the aesthetic's right and it's authentic. And we're just not right now looking at the numbers, the data. When I was managing, before we formed this label in 2017, I was managing an artist that had an album, and I took it to a label, and the head of the label was like, "This album sounds awesome. Send me over the social numbers and we'll talk." And I'm like, "What's wrong with that?" It's like you're looking for, you're scared to do the work that it takes, which means that you truly actually don't believe.
Yeah. Also, what's important on that is that you have to have, in order, first and foremost, we have to believe in ourselves. In order for this ride to happen, we have to believe. I have to believe in Kerry Brown. Kerry Brown has to believe in Linda Perry. And then I got to believe in Linda Perry. And in order to have this journey, we have to take risk. It just has to happen. You have to. I mean, that's what this whole business was built on, is risk. And for some reason, people aren't taking it because they're afraid of losing their jobs. They're afraid of missing out on something. They're afraid to raise their hand and applaud. They're waiting for everybody else. And you can't operate a business like this on fear. You just can't. There's a wonderful man in the audience, Jim Chancellor, and he runs Fiction. And what a great guy. Jim, just stand up for a second. I just want you to see this guy. He's very handsome.
He's like a wizard, beautiful wizard.
Yeah, but he is a risk taker. He really operates from heart, and there's a very rare breed out there, and a lot of kids are running around not even really wanting the label anymore, which is kind of awesome. You know, it's like, we don't need a label to tell us how wonderful we are, do we? I mean, I don't. You know, it's nice to get out there, but what we want to try to build is, you know, a band and an artist, not a brand and not a celebrity. And, you know, I think we all can agree that we're probably over the celebrity right now. And we want to get back to the basics of what music is. The fact that rock and roll is not non-existent, you know, and that's considered like, God, it's hard to break rock and roll. That's crazy to me. I don't even understand the difference between alternative rock and pop at this point, you know. And so there's a lot of things to go get over, but we're not about trying to get over. We're just trying to find solutions. We're not huge right now, but we will be. This time next year, we will be. We are here, will be definitely present and very active and doing a lot for the community. And, you know, so like someone like Dorothy, you know, we're trying to break her right now into alternative because active rock is not considered sexy, and it's not. It's not I don't want to be on active rock. It's not a sexy place to be. You know, but alternative is the great place to be, but nobody wants to take those chances. We have to go against a label, because she's on a different label, that says stop doing what you're doing. Like, I'm calling stations myself. Like, I'm on the phone, Linda Perry, during all my shit that I got going on, I'm on the phone calling radio stations and emailing them and asking them, please, just listen to her. Listen to this band, and if you don't like it, fine. But at least give it a listen.
And it's a badass thing to do, and it works, by the way.
Yeah, and
They
it's
listen,
working.
like, oh, you know what? This is great, and I'm going to give it a spin, and we're going to test it out. And that's all we ask for, because then once it's there, then the music does the talking.
But you know what the label's asking us to do? Stop doing that. I don't even understand
They're probably here
that.
right now.
Yeah, I don't care. But we've been
We'll talk
told
later.
to stop doing that. And it's like, why would we stop trying to help our artist? We manage her. We're going to give her every single thing that we have, you know. And Caroline Records does the distribution, and they're amazing. And we're all trying to get to the same goal, aren't we? I mean, we just want to be in the business. We want to perform. We want to be heard. We want to express ourselves. And something that's really beautiful about our label, which I don't see, we both don't see, is like I said, we're all in a house right now, and our artists are friends with each other. You know, like, you know, that's the way it should be. There's not a competition, it's a support, you know, and that's what is needed. We need to start supporting each other. Stop bad-mouthing things, you know, it's like, that's not good for the world. As you can notice, it's not doing anything, putting people down and saying they're not good enough or I'm better than them. You know, let your ego speak through your music. If you want to blow somebody away, blow them away with your music, not your words. Get up on that stage and blow that band away. And then you can walk away and go, we were awesome, and we blew them away. That's it. That's all we need to say. We don't need to take it down and say they suck or pop music is bad or, this is not good enough. We don't need to spend our time on that anymore. All we need to do is support each other. And these are so simple things that we're doing. I mean, it doesn't take a big brain to think about that. We're not a big machine. We're just trying to take simple, fundamental facts of support the creative. That's what we're all in this room right now. Our number one thing we want to do is support the creative. So how do we support the creative? Is that we have to support it all. Yeah. And to support it all, what a beautiful place that we all can sit in, supporting each other, to see each other win that Grammy or get there, get on that stage and applaud, like, right on, they made it. Because that all reflects who we are as individuals in this incredibly, incredibly hard business. Why would we make it harder for each other? Why don't we try to make it easier? Because by making it easier for other people, it makes it easier for us. We have to think outside the box. And outside the box is not in here. It's in here. And that's what we're trying to bring to the business, is the pulse. Get off the grid. Bring in that support. Bring it all back into the heart where we create. We have Jinx. And what's wonderful about Kai's in the box of, creating, through loops, but he does it so brilliantly. It's like, stand up for a second, Kai. You'll even see Kai on one of the posters. But they are so amazing. You blew me away. I've never seen Jinx play because we only heard their music. And it's all like, it's 80s pop, rock, it's so great. And it's fun. It's very reminiscent of like what you felt through the 80s, but it's got this 2020 spin on it, And so we saw their first show. They've never played before, but oh my God, I couldn't believe it. The sound check was the show. Like, they owned it. Yeah. There was like 5 people at sound check, and every single time they played a song, like Harlow stepped up on that stage and she owned it. And as an artist, you have to do that. How many artists are in here today? A lot of artists, okay? And how many people are here for management, running a label, publishing? Just here because you're a fan of music? A fan of me? Fan of Kerry? So it's like, thank you for coming, by the way.
Yeah.
So, I think that everybody in here is supporting music. So basically, as an artist, I can say to the artist, like, you have to own it. You have to step on that stage and you have to decide who you're going to be. And that person doesn't have to be the same person off stage. Just remember that. You can be a different person off stage than you are on stage, but be that character. Yeah. Get on that stage and be that character. And then on top of it, when you're looking for a label or not, or whatever you're doing, you gotta remember that people are always gonna push you around. They are. They're gonna push you around because they wanna see how weak you are. The DNA of the human is to be a bully. We are. We're bullies. And then some of us are victims. And there's villains and there's victims. It's played that throughout our history of life. So when the villain finds the victim, they push. And they push you out of your comfort zone into their comfort zone. So a label's number one directive is to get you to do what they want you to do.
And they'll push, and they'll push,
and they'll
push, and they'll try and scare you. And you have to listen to your heart, listen to your gut. It's called intuition, and know your artist, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that system will work for a certain artist, but right now it's failing, right? The formula does not work anymore. And what we're doing right now is we're talking to each artist, and we're coming up with a unique plan for that artist. I just want to say one thing about Kai really quick.
Yeah.
Wait, so Kai's our creative director at We Are Here. He does amazing posters and package design and videos. His videos are amazing. Can't wait for you guys to see all the stuff that's been coming out of this amazing person's brain. And Jinx is how we sort of reconnected. I was in Italy on vacation, and he sent me a video, and it just said, check it out. And I looked at it, I'm like, I go, can we talk? The video is unreal. It's one song. It's just beautiful. He did it in his house for like $5, and it's perfect. And I said, what's going on here? And he's like, this is my new project, Jinx. I want to talk. And so I started over to Linda, and she's like, what is this? We got to sign Jinx. I'm like, well, I think there's a bigger thing. I think it's have Kai come in as our creative director, and we'll sign. This is how unique our company is, that our creative director is one of our artists. So we have a record deal with our creative director, who is, a big part of our company. But when South by came together, it was about maybe less than a month ago when this all happened. I said, Jinx has got to play, and he's like, what? We have never played yet a show, and I'm like, it'll be fine, right? Well, let's just do it. And so he didn't sleep for 78 hours and put together this amazing show with video, and just crushed it.
But they owned it.
We work at a different pace than
we're very, very fast. Like, people are freaked out about how fast we work.
Yeah.
And I want to take this moment now to because this is, again, you have to think outside the box. We got to go in left field directions. You can't just try to do it the way everybody else is doing. So number one, to all the labels and managers, you can't play by the do's and don't rules that have been, forged over the past 20 years. That just doesn't work. You have to create your own do's and don'ts, and you have to create your own avenue now. And there's different ways to go about things. And so right now, we would like to bring somebody up that we've partnered with, is completely left field, and they've been an incredible partner, because they just stepped in, and they started shooting and asking questions later. This was a company that's completely, we never saw coming, and this partnership definitely didn't see coming. But so we'd like to bring Michelle Tate up from QuickBooks, and come over here.
Michelle's the director of global
brand marketing. Hello.
Yeah, we love Michelle.
And I want to start with just saying Michelle is, a risk taker, and had this idea, and it was presented to her, and she just went for it. We moved so fast, and on a particular artist named Willa Amai. And can you actually speak on that?
Yeah, so to give you guys a little background about us, so we at QuickBooks, we create smarter business tools essentially for small businesses and self-employed. And we speak to millions of small businesses every year, and we know how hard it is. When we met you guys, we were like, yeah, you bring to life everything that we're trying to help. We know that it takes grit and tenacity, right? And like the resilience that you guys have, like I couldn't do that. So,
well, you do.
And we try, like we really pride ourselves with being, backing those who don't back down, right? And being that champion of those who dare to dream. And really being there and stepping in, trying to help small businesses and self-employed succeed. Our latest Backing You campaign really goes to show what it's really like to own a small business, being self-employed, and really reinforce that commitment that we have to these small businesses. And so when Willa and I, one of your artists, had partnered with us with one of our ads.
Let me set this up.
We should go for a little backstory, because it's amazing.
It's a pretty awesome story. So Michael Frick and Kerry had this idea about going to Chai Day, which is a big marketing. Actually, you know more
Chai
about
Day
it.
is one of probably the largest advertising agency in the world, and they have these disruptor series, and we were invited to come to one in November, and we brought in a very cool panel of speakers. My wife, Stacey Scher, who's been nominated for multiple Academy Awards, produced over 40 feature films, all of them amazing. Linda Perry, Natasha Bedingfield, and Orly Marley, who runs the Bob Marley estate, came in and talked to Aaron, the president of the Los Angeles office at Chai Day. And we said, hey, can we have some of our artists come play? And they were like, yeah, that would be amazing. So Natasha was there already. She performed, and the audience, which is all creatives, was very excited about that. Dorothy was in town and played, and Linda played a couple songs. And Linda and I were in the UK and Germany doing some business, and we were talking late at night on the phone because we'd never sleep. And we're like, what do you think about bringing Willa in? She had only performed once before to do a couple songs.
And she's 13, right?
Willa's our
And she
13-year-old.
She's 13, right? So we're also very protective of the fact that she's 13 and 8th grader, and we're not throwing her out there into the machine. And Linda's like, yeah, well, let's reach out to Hillary, her mom, and Willa is the one that's like, she's always ready to go. So we like sent an email, hey, would Willa be into doing this? A couple songs, and 4 seconds later, yes, where do we show up? So we had Willa come and play, and she just really won over.
Literally 4 hours, I mean, not even 4 hours. After we walked out, I got a phone call like, hey, we really like the artist, Willa, and there's this thing going on, and we need a fresh voice. And I was like, I can't believe it. Like everybody we had, they instantly grabbed onto Willa. And so that's where this all came from. So they
that's
had a whole camp.
That's
Yeah.
end of November, and this spot is ready to air on Christmas
we asked
Day,
Willa,
right?
yeah,
And
we
you
asked
could get
Willa
some best,
to cover "Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger" by Jazz.
Not an easy song.
Not an easy song, and she did, and it was amazing. And we were like, great, we have this great ad. It has amazing music. We put it on air Christmas Day. Our phones start ringing. I get called by some people on our team that's like, customer service, they're getting phone calls about why our customers can't download Willa's song on iTunes. And we're like, yeah, we're on it. Being the partner to the small businesses that we support and self-employed, we not only wanted to help launch Willa, right? And we're humbled by the opportunity, but also to spotlight the people who make the stars, right? Because we know that in the music industry and as a whole, the world's largest workforce, they work for themselves. And often in the music industry, you don't hear about or you don't spotlight those people who really bring all the stars to the stage, the photographer, the amazing Kai Aarons, right? The light technicians, the producers, the engineers, right? And so we wanted to bring the spotlight to them. And so a couple of days before the Grammys, we put together a video that essentially helped launch Willa, put it on our social channels, on YouTube, and spotlighted everybody that really wasn't going to take center stage in Madison Square Garden. And maybe we can roll that video now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Work it, make it stronger. Make it do it faster. More than ever, hour after. Our work is never over. Work it, make it, do it, make us stronger. Harder, better, faster, stronger. Work it, make it, do it, make us stronger. Harder, better, faster, stronger. Our work is never over. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster, make us stronger. More than ever, hour after hour, work it never over.
The music industry's largest workforce works for themselves. We work for them. QuickBooks, backing you.
Our work is never over.
So what's really couple cool things that come from the visual world also. One, that was all shot at our office and recording studio, and everyone there is part of our team, the We Are Here team. Two, we got to this point because when the spot aired, the original QuickBooks spot with Willa's cover, it was like the #1 most Shazam song.
Yeah.
And it just
Within
started blowing
couple
up,
weeks, yeah.
and the social media blew up. It's like, you hear about things going viral, but I actually saw it for the first time in my life when something does go viral, and there was it went viral because it was organic. People really wanted to find out who this voice was behind this commercial.
And the sentiment for our brand as this launch was like, just went through the roof. And anybody who does any marketing here knows that you're as good as your product outage at that time, right? And so what we used to see is like our products would go out for like, I don't know, an hour. Our sentiment would drown, right? But when we launched this video with Willa and we had some outages, it like went through the roof. We were in like the high 90s. It's unheard of, right?
Yeah.
And it's all because there was shared values and purposes and in the work between you guys as a business and Willa and QuickBooks.
Yeah.
And what's even more amazing, to take the story even further, they're not stopping there. Like they really are fans of Willa. Willa performed in the
Mountain View.
QuickBooks office,
Yeah.
and those people, they're fans. They were trying to see Willa. I mean, it was like some big rock star walked in, and we're just, we're being very protective. As a 13-year-old, we're like, oh, what's going to happen? And she performed, and the energy in the offices was amazing. And then they were like, well, we don't want to stop here. We like to continue. So QuickBooks is actually getting behind a radio campaign now for Willa Amai. And I mean, like I said, it's like, these things you do hear about, and it's happening. We didn't seek this out. We were just trying to let our artists be heard, and they listened. And that's what I'm talking about. You got to listen, and the right ears pick this up, the right intention, the right company, and it pairs well with us because we are a small business trying. We don't have a big machine behind us. There's no one else behind here speaking for us. It's right here, and we're taking the risk, and QuickBooks came in and took the risk with us, and now we're gonna go to radio and do a whole radio campaign on Willa to put the song out and to keep following this story because it doesn't stop, does it? I mean, our story just keeps growing and getting bigger and bigger, and we always need support.
Yeah, I mean, I came from a world back in the alternative rock world in the 90s when it was just like the curse of death to partner with a brand or a corporation. That's all obviously changed, but it's still, we had dinner last night and we talked, it still has to align. It still has to make sense, right?
Right.
And there was something that you told me that I just heard last night for the first time. QuickBooks really feels like they are, and they have, discovered Willa, and they are very passionate about Willa. And when we went to Mountain View, there was thousands of people that you had to turn away.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you want to tell a little bit about that story.
So, I mean, so Willa came to, we did a Facebook Live with her right from our headquarters in Mountain View, and we had about 5,000 people who wanted to see Willa live, and we were so protective of her, right? And her team that we said, no, you guys watch it from your computers. We'll put it on what we call Intuit Lives or live TV, and we'll let a few hundred people come to the floor where she's playing because we just wanted her to have like a magical experience.
Yeah.
It's surprising to some people that we did partner with you guys, and I think it took the music industry by surprise a little.
Yeah.
And if I had told someone maybe 6 months ago that a software for small businesses was going to credibly partner to launch an artist, I think you would laugh at me.
Yeah.
But it did, and
Yeah.
it was very authentic and relatable, right? And you see, I mean, we were so surprised when we saw the amount of just organic shares that we had on the video. We had about 700,000 organic shares. We had celebrities pick this up because they felt like they agreed and related to the idea that they knew who was behind them, right, on this big stage. And so, we are just so humbled and thankful that
And it's mutual.
partnership.
And the best part is it's just the beginning.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just the beginning.
And the Facebook live stream has over like a million views of Willa on a piano performing.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, going back to what I said back in the 70s, remember I said you needed, the label to claim you? Basically, these are the different labels, Michelle is part of a label right now because she's claiming an artist, and QuickBooks is, getting behind her. So it might look different, there might be a different story, different backgrounds, but it's the same feeling. So that's what I'm saying. We have to be open-minded now about the possibilities, but the same feeling is what we're staying with, is the heart, the belief system, the risk, the support, and the claiming of your artist and being able to move forward. Because with that, we can move mountains. We can move major, major mountains in this business if we just stay clear and stay focused and keep moving, pushing the creative.
And our relationship is so awesome and unique, and we get brutally honest with each other. And Willa is insanely talented. I mean, we've discovered Carole King or Taylor Swift. Or
Yeah, we
Adele
played her to Jimmy Iovine randomly, actually, and everybody in this space should know who Jimmy Iovine is. And he smiled, and he's like, "You know what you have here? You have the cool Taylor Swift." And we're like, But again, it's baby steps with her because we're not trying to throw her out there. We're just trying to organically watch what happens. And it's organically moving at a faster pace than we expected, but we're not pushing. We're just still watching this build. And again, the story with QuickBooks has not ended.
We can tell the story. None of us have a crystal ball. Linda, I think, might. But when it came to all our rollouts of our artists, I'm very, mechanical in my thinking about like timing, right? And I was with Linda. I'm like, Willa, I can't quite wrap my head around Willa right now. She's so young. She's so talented. Do we want to get in and produce an album? And Linda's like, just shut up about Willa. It will happen. Just believe it will happen. And then it was less than 30 days later. It totally happened. So you really have to go with. It's great to have a partner that's so honest and
we
doesn't
balance
operate
each
from
other out. He's more zen. I'm more reactive. And so we definitely are good cop, bad cop, depending on what day it is. But so anyways, we would love to be able to, if you have any questions, I guess there's microphones up there. If anybody wants to ask us anything, we can get into that if you're
Anyone want to get up and play guitar and audition for us? We got a guitar there.
Hi, my name is Rio, and I come from a musician, but also more of a manager standpoint. And first off, thank you so much for being here and the humility of being here. And I think what you're doing for artists today has kind of brought us all together in terms of like, wow, there's somebody who really cares about artists still, and it's not just a data sheet. There's passion in the creative. So kind of one of my questions to you are, so many artists, I think, feel like they have to kind of do it on their own now. And from a manager point of view, like, I want to help artists. Like, I think you should be able to focus on your craft and let somebody, be a part of managing your career and doing the business end of it. So what kind of advice would you say for artists who are just starting out? Would you say that they should pair with a manager, or do you think it's better off for them to just try to do it on their own?
I believe that, first of all, that's a very, very broad question because one, is the artist good? Sorry, that's the first thing you gotta do. Are there songs? Is there a rock star here? Because you gotta remember, too, if you have John Lennon up here with Imagine, and John doesn't have any motivation, Imagine is not gonna be heard. Talent is part of it. Motivation and drive is another big part of it. And then having the support system is the other part of it. So you have to, ask yourself or figure out, like, are you good enough to have a manager yet? And if you are, believe me, manager's gonna find you. And then when that happens, the rest is gonna follow. But if you're not good, you're not getting a manager, there's no point.
Yeah, I would advise against seeking out a manager. For sure, because there's a lot of people that will just take the business, take a cut, and if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. It's no sweat off their back.
Well, nobody sought out getting managers until they were well developed. Like you're moving along and things are going on. There's like, oh, now there's too much going on. We need a manager. Like you don't just pick up a guitar, write a song, go, I need a manager. You know what I mean? But actually, I think that does happen right now. People do think because they have 100,000 hits on their YouTube because they played a cover of Tears for Fears, Mad World, they need a manager and a label now because that ranks them good enough to be out there. That's the other problem. A lot of people think they're rock stars and they're not. Just because you're on YouTube and someone clicked a like does not mean you're a rock star yet. You still have to get the experience. We deal with that all the time. It's like, just because you can sing and play guitar doesn't mean you're a rock star. It doesn't give you the experience. You have to get out there. It's a bunch of
get in front of
lazy
people, you have to
people
play.
are lazy right now because we want everything super fast. You got to do the work. You got to do the work, or it's going to come back and beat you down if you don't.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Well, there's got to be another question out there, for fuck's sakes.
Hi, my name is Genevieve. I come from Canada. I'm from Montreal.
Right, let's say that again.
My name is Genevieve. I'm from Montreal, Canada. You said, you're getting the feel with QuickBooks, and I'm going to kind of put you on the spot there, but what I hear is eventually they'll want results, and they'll want to, I guess, maybe not, tell us about that, want to decide when the next song comes out, and when, so it'll feel like a label once again, won't it?
No, the QuickBooks is our partner in developing. Willa, actually, you answer that question.
Yeah. You know what? What we found was that we had results immediately. We had 100 million impressions within a weekend. We had a ton of customers calling us saying, we love you, we don't use you yet, but when we do become self-employed and when I do go at it on my own, you're gonna be in my mind. And that to us is everything, and it's authentic. We have a ton of internal folks that are super excited about truly walking the walk, not just talking the talk of backing those who work for themselves. And our campaign is doing phenomenally well. Everybody recognizes it just from hearing the song from Willa, right? So for us, we've checked all the boxes. The box that we want to check now is to make Willa successful, and that's because we care about her, right?
That's
and
true.
so we're
I mean,
not dictating anything that these guys do. I mean, and you can comment on that.
No.
Anything. We just
If
enjoy
anything,
their
we're just humbled to
partnership.
be part of
Yeah.
it.
By the way, I hadn't seen the campaign, and it is phenomenal. So
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to say that.
Next question.
Hello, my name is inductee, hip hop artist. Thank you all for coming out here for the passionate and very informative session. Just had a question that popped in my mind with the previous question. This goes for both of y'all. What would be your turn-ons and turn-offs when you're meeting and dealing with an artist?
My turn-ons are someone who I can see that they are 24/7 this. That they are an artist. An artist goes to bed an artist and wakes up one. An artist doesn't clock in from 9 to 5 and go, I'm gonna go be a rock star right now. You're just a creative person and that's who you are. There's a something, there's a swagger, there's a movement, there's a thing that makes you kind of stand out, a glow. I don't know what it is, a depression, a something. So I look for that. And then the next thing I look for is obviously their talent. Like, what songs are they writing? Their voice, their expression. And then the next thing, and then after all that, the number one important thing is the drive. Now, I got the talent, I got the rock star, but is this person gonna take it home? Because Kerry and I can only do so much. We can't take you all the way to the end of your vision. We can help you support that vision. But if I'm thinking about the big house and your Grammys and you buying your mom a yacht and you're not thinking of those things, there's something severely wrong, okay? You have to have those dreams, and if you don't, I move on.
Yeah, it's the same, and it has to resonate. We're not genre specific at all. I mean, we're all over the map. It just has to be good, and we have to know that the artist is passionate.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Next question.
Hi, I'm kind of wondering, can you guys talk a little bit more about artist development and how you help new artists find their voice?
Want to take that?
Yeah, sure. I really believe that Dorothy is a great example. So I'll use Dorothy right now. When Dorothy came to Linda, she tracked down Linda. So there was already Dorothy has drive. She found a way to get a hold of you because she wanted to work with you. And at that point, Linda and I were talking a lot about what Linda wanted to do in her career, because you were getting exhausted with the songwriting kind of factory work, doing a one-off song, you know, you're like, I'm not gonna do it anymore. Like, it's just not fulfilling to me. And we are going to take Dorothy and we are going to do what used to happen all the time. It's nothing new. It's just we went back to the old way and we're finding a way to make it fit in the digital, new, modern space, right? So it's all about getting the artist ready. Everything, whatever it is. It's like, how are you going to live? What level do you want to live at? Where are you comfortable living? What are you going to look like? What are you going to sound like? Who's going to be your support system? You know, how available are we? We're very available to our artists. I mean, when they need us, we get back. And that's a big part of artist development. It's not just about the songs and getting on stage and putting on a rock show. It's actually, that's the easy part. You know, that's the easy part. An artist gets paid, management gets paid for the 23 hours that are not on stage. You know, and it's everything. It's basically putting together a support system for your artist. We just happen to be two producers that started a company, so we know a lot about producing albums, but it has to be all in. Artist development's all in, right? We do not look at a single and what the result is on that single. It's old school. It's like, you know, U2 became U2 and massive on their third or fourth album. REM, the same. They had people that believed in them, and they stayed with them for the long haul.
Yeah, and then you
And
also
if you don't have
help
that,
them.
you might as well just do it yourself and throw it out there and see what happens.
But you have to help the focus, you know, because sometimes we get distracted. Not sometimes, we always get distracted. We forget who we are because we're so distracted about who we're not, you know? And you want to be on the radio, I want to do that. Oh, look at Halsey, she's blowing up, or Lords, or blah, blah, blah. It's just like, our job is, no, you're amazing. You will be the next thing that people want to be. Dorothy, 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 stay focused. So that's part of it.
Don't compare,
You know,
do
don't
not
compare.
chase the marketplace.
You can't chase the market, but you know, there's so much to do in artist development, and it's hard to say it because we just do it. You know, we haven't written it down yet, you know, and I think that's what we're
probably never will,
exploring.
because then
yeah,
it'll be a problem.
We're exploring the possibilities of how we could just be great, you know, how we could be of service to our artists and to this business.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a minute and some change.
So as a former technical director, thank you for the backup campaign, because that kind of was very important to me to see that. Going back to what you were saying earlier about sometimes you're a songwriter and you wake up and realize, no wait, I'm actually a producer or a manager. Can each of you speak to your history and when you woke up and wait, maybe I'm not doing this anymore. Maybe I'm really a producer now or a manager now.
For me, I just knew when I was younger that I was going to be somebody, you know, and I don't know what somebody means when you're 5, you know, but it's like I just knew that my life was going to be different than others, and I've left the possibilities open for my discovery and my journey. So I'm a songwriter, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a producer, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm anything I feel my creative, anything that supports my creative, that is who I am. I'm a creative artist, and whatever is under that umbrella, I am. So I think that's it. So sorry, we only have 17 seconds. There's nothing we're going to be able to answer, but we will talk after this.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming and listening to us, and thank you, Michelle Tate from QuickBooks.
Yeah.
And please enjoy your rest of your week, and you can look us up at wearehere.com.
Yeah, thank you.